Ann Cornick, Paint from Paint and Porcelain Exchange. I'm here to teach beginners how to get started in China painting, and I'm also here to try to keep those of you that have been painting a while, motivated. So today we're going to be working on the second fire on our teacups. Now, last week I did my teacup and I did it in pink for you so you could see what it looked like in pink. I really liked the pink, and I've already taken it into the mall. I got my yellow back, and it's very, very, very pale. So I will show you what to do with it. Let's talk about what you would do if you were just starting out doing this piece. First of all, anytime you paint it the first time, you need to sand it. And this is a little sponge with a sanding block on the back. It's a very low, mild sanding. Don't use sandpaper from the store. Use a paper bag if you have to. All you want to do is knock down, when you run your hand across it, you might be able to feel like it's a little bit raised, a little bit dusty, and you're just knocking that down with the sandpaper. This is how mine turned out. I redid it in yellow. Now you can see it's extremely, extremely pale. And so that was one of the reasons I didn't want to paint with the yellow for you to see initially, because it is very, very pale. But I have worked on the cup, and I did the second fire on the cup, and you can see on the second fire, it comes out much darker. So now with the cup, you notice it's glued here. One of the things that's really hard is to do all this trim on here, and to do it and then be able to transport it to the basement, because that's where my kiln is, without getting my hand in it somewhere. So I have put it with Elmer's glue. This is a white school glue. Now, if you don't have Elmer's glue where you are, because I know some people are overseas and apparently they don't have it, you might want to just Google it and see what the equivalent is where you are, because it's a white school glue and it's called Elmer's, E-L-M-E-R-S. And see how white it is? And it just, you put it on and you set something on it, you have to let it dry. You're going to paint all the flowers first, all the way around, okay? And then you glue it to the back side of a tile using an Elmer's glue or whatever you use. And then you'll be able to paint the bottom, the top, and the handle, and you won't have to touch any of it. So I know people have said that there are other things I could be using that dry faster, but I've had good luck with this, and they say if it ain't broken, don't fix it. So you glue it to a tile. If you have a regular tile, you're going to glue it not to the shiny side or the good side. You're going to glue it to the back so that it doesn't stick when it fires. And when it fires, the glue will release. And so be very careful taking it out, because the cup and the tile will be separate. But it's a good way to do your trim and hold things and move them around, and then you don't have so much work that you need to do. Okay. Colors for today. Now, I have all these colors on here because if you're doing it in pink, let me just pull up my notes here, okay? If you're doing it in pink on the second fire, you're going to need a Meissen brown for the stems, just like we did it originally. And your leaves will be Russian and shading green, which is a little bit different. Your flowers, you're going to use a yellow red, and the trim is the Russian green. So these are the colors that I have. The chartreuse is from the first time that we did it. This is the Russian green. That's what it looks like. That's what you're going to do all around the edge. And for the pink, you're going to use the Russian green with, what did I say here? Shading green for your leaves. If you're doing the yellow with me, we'll be using a different combination. Then I have flesh and carnation. That's what we used on the first fire for the pink flowers. and mice and brown was for the stem on both of these. Yellow red is what you'll use anytime I'm using like a pecan on this fire. On my yellow, you'll be using a yellow red if you're doing the pink flowers. Okay, now for the yellow flowers, I started out with a buttercup and a pecan together. And that's how we got this. Or a yellow and a yellow brown. It doesn't matter. Whatever colors you have, they don't have to be exact. Then on the second fire, because this came out so light, I mixed my yellow, which is buttercup here, with, I wanted a darker color. I took sunflower, which is one of the Paula White colors I have. It's a little too dark. I probably should have gone with canary if I had it. I'm using shading green, and that's what you'll use in both the pink and the yellow flowers on the second fire. And I put a little moss here because I thought that the color went better with the yellow. Couple things you'll need on this. I'm using this eraser. I put in, let me get the cup again. As you can see on this cup, I put in a couple little flip backs and things with the eraser. I also am using my 1/4 inch sharp brush, and I've got a scroller. So those are the brushes I'm using. This is the picture that I had that I actually got the, the idea from. It's not really a dogwood. I think it's supposed to be a dogwood, but I don't think it really is a dogwood. So now let me get this in the, okay, there we go. So that'll give you an idea of, okay, what we're painting. I'm going to start with my 1/4 inch brush, and I'm going to full load, and I do this every time just so people can see. A full load is when you pull down, you wiggle a little, that'll also help. With the buttercup, and I'm going to side load, that's just doing little C's in the bottom or on the side of the pecan or yellow brown, whatever color you're using. And I'm going to start right here and do the base. Now you see, that's with just the buttercup. I think the buttercup might be a little bit too, how do I put it? A little bit too light. So I've added now a little bit of the sunflower, and see how that just kind of helps it? It really does. Okay, so I'm taking full load of buttercup with a full load of sunflower, just a little bit. And then I'm going around and doing just the middle part. Just the middle part. Okay. And I can do that on all of them because that way I don't have to clean my brush and go back and just use the yellow. So I'm going to do it up here. Kind of loading my brush each time because I want to get a fresh layer of paint on there. Yellow is a hard color to paint with when people are watching you on a video like this. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that I didn't do the first coat with the yellow. Now, if you are painting the pink version of this, you would be using yellow red right now. That's the color I'm using. Come all the way down here. That's the color I would use for this depth. I added my depth with yellow red. So I full loaded with carnation and side loaded with yellow red. And up here I'm going to do the same thing. And the stroke I'm using is kind of a funny stroke. It's almost like a check mark pulling towards the center. I'll show you here because it's hard to see when I'm painting the flower. It's like this. And then if you need to smooth it, you can just lightly go across it and it'll smooth it for you. It's a really good stroke for this kind of thing. To get that depth down in the bottom, close to the middle. If you're doing, someone recently was doing morning glories and they said, what do I do? And I showed them this stroke and they went, oh, I get it. That's so simple. And it really is simple. You just have to make sure that you've got your dark on here and then just pull it into the middle. I just added a little bit of oil to my brush, and I'm just going and putting a little more of the dark where I need it. Alrighty, now I'm going to clean my brush. Okay, and now I'm just going to take a little bit of the Buttercup full load with a side load of the pecan, and I'm just going to do the very edges. There we go. Kind of flipping around them. I know you should start with the back. I don't. I always start with the flower. I don't know why that is. I just do. That's me. Then I'm going to have to go and do the leaves, and I'm going to mess up my flower. So if you want to start with the leaves first, you can. I have better luck this way, and I don't know why. Now I'm only using the Buttercup, which is the lighter color, because I just want a little color on the edge of these. Buttercup with a side load of pecan. So I've done the same thing all the way around. I'll work on the middle of these a little later. I'm just going to do the leaves now. Now for me, because of the yellow and the brown, or brownish sort of color, I prefer not to use the Russian again. I'm just going to use a full load of moss. Here, like this, with a side load of the shading green. And that's what I'm going to put on my, that's what I'm going to put on my leaves. So here's one. And they're kind of like rose leaves, only longer. So I'm putting in the depth. So you come across like this, then like this, flip it around. I'll turn it a little so you can see better, and come up the side like that to the point. Now, if I want to do my veins, I'm just going to tap. There we go. Okay. You can use a little Russian green if you want. It's entirely up to you. Here I have a leaf on top and a leaf below. So I'm going to start with the leaf that's below because I've got a lot of paint on my brush right now, a lot of the dark paint, and I want to make sure that it's used on the bottom leaf because the bottom leaf is going to be the darker of the two. I'm doing the same thing, going across, and then flipping it around and doing down the side and the very edge. That gives you a really nice highlight too. Now for the top leaf, I'm going to do it in that moss green, but with a little Russian, so you can see what that looks like. It comes out a little lighter. And there we go. Pull this down a little. Alrighty. Then I'm going to go into the shading green to kind of help me with these flowers, if they're the dogwood flowers, have a lot of veins all the way down them. And that's why I'm doing that. Okay, then I'm going to go back after the fact and wipe out around here where I may have messed it up a little. There we go. Okay. Alrighty. And I don't know what happened over here. I think that was supposed to attach to, I don't know, a stem or something. And for some reason it looks kind of odd, but let's see what we can do with it, okay? So every once in a while you're going to go, what the heck was I thinking? I don't know if I had another flower there and I just didn't paint it in. Hang on, I'm having a little trouble with this guy here. There we go. So I'm going to give him a little more of a base. Sometimes you have to do that if you find something like this where you go, what was I thinking? And then I'll attach him back in with a little stem later. I'm going to flip around and do this guy here. Am I still in? Here, move it up a little. And here, I didn't bring it down into the flower, so I'm going to do that with the darker color now. I'm using a dark enough color. The shading green of mine is fairly dark that it's going to kind of camouflage the fact that I didn't do a lot there. Okay. And then I'm going to go back and put in the little veins. Everybody does their veins a little differently. I learned to do my veins from my first teacher, and she was very, she was like, well, if you're in the color already, just use that. And that's kind of why I do them the way I do them. I'm going to add a little more there. There, that's a little better. This one I'm putting a little more of the Russian green on. I do like that Russian green. For some reason my brush is just, there we go. And I'm going to turn this around here and just come up. I'm going to have to tilt this a little. Oh, not enough oil. If things start dragging for you, you know you need a little oil. Ah, look at the difference. Did you see that? It just made it so nice and smooth and even. There. And there. And then I have, it looks like my leaf goes down a little further because these are very long leaves. They aren't rose leaves. They're the other leaves, so. Okay. I think I'm going to try something. I mixed chartreuse Russian and the, and the moss green, and then I'm doing a side load of the shading green, and I'm just going to see if I can put a couple of little leaves here just to sort of pull that all together. I think that might help. There, now see? That worked out pretty well. Wanted a little darker there, so I'm just going to take my dark green, my dark shading green, and go over it and add the little, there we go. Okay, I think that took care of some of the issues I had there. And I want this a little smoother here. Okay. Alrighty, now I'm going to take and use my scroller. That's this guy. And I'm just going to, I'm going to do something a little unorthodox. This is artistic license. I'm taking and putting a little red in the middle of these flowers. I'm using the yellow red. It just needs something. It seems like it's missing a little, oops. On this side, it was a little too much, so I'm just gonna dab it. There we go. I do the same thing here. I kind of like that, actually. Okay. Alrighty. I think that just, even though it's not supposed to be there, I think it adds a little, oh, here I need to actually use my eraser to get it out there. If you take the eraser and tap straight up and down the little Teacup, it will give you those little dots. Okay, now I'm going to take a little Meissen. When I load my scroller, I roll it for this kind of application, and then I wipe it on my towel so I don't have anything like a big lump on the end, because I want to make sure it goes through nice and even. And the same thing here. I noticed there are a couple places where I didn't really see here. It doesn't quite touch. There we go. And then over here, I'm going to do it. Oops, roll my, there we go. And I'm going to do it up this way. Yoop, yoop, yoop. And up this way. Okay, and then over on this side. Make sure you carry it through. Here, I'm going to do it here and here. And then over here. And if you carry it through this way and come lift as you go, you get a lot prettier end. Now, where did I have that problem? Right here. I want to make sure that this leaf there. Okay, and then bring these little guys over because they kind of got buried. I did them there first time though because I wanted to know where they were. You pull out from the middle to make these little stamen guys. Now I have the yellow in the background, so if they're too thick, like this guy's a little thick, I put a little oil on my brush and I'm just in a little bit of the paint and I'm just kind of pulling it down because I don't want to lose the paint. But here, like this guy's a little bit doubled. And there we go. Okay. And then I'm going to put brown on here and just the Meissen brown again and go straight up and down and just add a few of these. I'm just making them darker. I'm leaving them where they were. Might add a couple here and there, but some of these, when I put the paint over them, have lost their oomph. And so I'm re-oomphin' them. I think, I'm looking at this, I think I need a little of the brown down here. Yeah, a little of the brown there. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do, got to clean my brush really well. Now, I'm going to use, actually, I think I used, no, I did use the 1/4 inch. Okay, now I'm loading my Russian. Now on this, you can do the edges, and that's way too dark. So I'm going to get out a sponge. Where's my sponge? Here we are. I've got one of these little sponges, and I'm just going to sponge it because it's a little too dark. Rather than go back and try to repaint it. Now, you can't really tell if it's too dark or not until you've done more. And that's why I didn't paint the rim on the cup, was because I was waiting to finish the saucer to see how it turned out and how dark it is before I do the cup. Because I don't, now see here, this one was already a little dark. Oops, here we go. That one didn't quite have it there, yeah. So this one's not going to need much color. It's pretty dark to begin with. There we go. and here. So now, going around, just make sure you've got the color, smooth it around, depending on, you know, what area you're painting. Not everybody's would be painting the same area. If you want a decorative edge on it, you have to pick something with a little bit of a decorative edge. Otherwise, your only option is really just to put a border on it. I'm going around now and taking off the color I don't want there. And then I'm going to hold it on these two sides and look at the back. Okay, and there's no color, no unnecessary color on the back. Now, when I fire this, if it needs another fire, and it may, I want to get rid of that little bump there. Okay. I probably will come back and just put in a little bit of Meissen brown around the edges here, just to give it a little oomph. So if I needed more on a final fire, I think this is kind of what I would do. I would take a little bit of the Meissen brown and or the darker and just give a little bit of flair to the edge of these. And maybe even add a little bit of, more depth to the middle. It just depends what it's going to look like. And here I think I kind of want to do it. See how that helps? Just a little bit of Meissen brown on this one. I think these are a lot more fun than I thought they would be. I don't know about you, but I really enjoyed doing them, and I thought it was a lot of fun. So this is what my saucer looks like. And I will take a picture of that. And remember, we said before, if it's a matter of just making it darker, you can do that on an upcoming fire. You can do that on another fire. You can always do 3 fires. Look at them both before you put them in the kiln. Make sure that they match, that they look pretty good together. Mine actually do, and I'm real pleased. I didn't want to paint 2 the same color because it's just not as much fun. And I thought this would also give you some idea of other colors that you could do if you're using this pattern. Pick up those brushes, keep painting. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.